It's not just a glove, it's a 44 Pro. Crafted with dedication, made for performance, and built to last. Get your custom glove today at 44pro.com and experience the 44 Pro difference. That's 44pro.com, 44 Pro.
Our patented handles were launched in 2018. We continue to push the boundaries of strength training. Join us in making your training more natural and effective. Visit Engels90.com to learn more and revolutionize your workout.
Looking for tickets to the hottest shows, games, and events? Ticket Liquidator is your one-stop shop for great prices, no hassles, and guaranteed tickets. Whether it's sports, theater, or concert, for the best seats at the biggest events, start with Ticket Liquidator today at ticketliquidator.com. Ticket Liquidator. Protect your online privacy with NordVPN. Browse securely, access content from anywhere, and keep your data safe with military-grade encryption. NordVPN.com. That's NORDVPN.com.
Hello and welcome on into another edition of the Cam Show, powered by Rogue Media Sports Network. I'm your host, Cam Stuart. Zach Burke is behind the glass, keeping us on the air today, and it is a big day on the Cam Show, live on YouTube at noon Eastern time and wherever you get your podcasts as well. We are going over the Alex Bregman opt-out. We are hearing more from boots on the ground people in Tennessee about the Brian Callahan firing and what it means for Mike Vrabel to be back in Tennessee this week. But of course, we have to start where we start with this one, and it is with the Red Sox. Big breaking news last night. Alex Bregman does intend to plans to opt out of his contract with 2 years remaining and $80 million left on the table with the Boston Red Sox to head to free agency. The worst kept secret in baseball is out there, and the Red Sox most ambitious free agent signing since JD Martinez is now possibly only a one-year deal. So with that, we bring in Jackson Roberts of Sports Illustrated to break this whole thing down. And Jackson, just got to start with this. On a scale of 1 to 10, how surprised are you today that Alex Bregman has, in fact, opted out of that contract?
I think I would say 1. I was leaning towards 0, but the only bit of surprise is he was very poor down the stretch in the regular season. So you think about that and you think maybe there's a chance that he looks at that guaranteed $40 million per year over the next 2 years and says, maybe I don't need to opt out this time around. But at the end of the day, he doesn't have the qualifying offer attached anymore. So teams aren't going to have to give up a draft pick to sign him. And I think we've seen in the last 2 years that really matters. That really depresses the market for some of these guys. We hear today that a team like the Kansas City Royals could be in on him this time around. That might be just some Scott Boras posturing. We'll see. But in general, I think his market is still going to be very strong, even if his results kind of tailed off toward the end of the year and he's aging a little bit and the injury concerns, et cetera. I still think it's his opportunity to cash in, and I can't say I'm surprised that he's taking it.
Yeah, let's take a look at that a little more, because he is north of 30, and we heard that report from Passan, I think it was early September, and it was basically like, hey, he's going to opt out unless there's a big injury or there's a major slump here down the stretch. And really, we did get both of those this year, Jackson. Like he overall had a very good year with the Red Sox, was an all-star, but missed over 40 games with the quad injury. Second time he's had that injury. Not a hugely injury-prone player, but that's the second time he's had that. And it was bad the last month and a half of the season. 640 OPS in September, only 9 RBI in each of the last 2 months leading into the postseason. So tell me, it was a robust, albeit late arriving market last year. What does the market look like for Alex Bregman this time around?
I think it looks fairly similar. You have reported suitors, and at this point, you can't even really say they're, reported suitors. They're just teams that we are pretty sure are going to be interested. And I think pretty much all the same characters you saw last offseason, with maybe the exception of the Cubs, who saw Matt Shaw kind of emerge as a rookie at third base there. So you'll definitely see the Tigers mentioned a lot this offseason. The Blue Jays seem like a pretty good fit. Interested to see if the Mariners get in the mix, because they obviously have both Suarez and Naylor heading to free agency. But every time we talk about the Mariners spending money in the offseason, they end up not doing it. The Phillies are a team that I'm personally watching just in case they end up trading Alec Bohm. Not necessarily a team that was tied to them closely last offseason, but a team that I think if I were the Red Sox, I would be nervous. Like, I don't want the Phillies getting involved here. And I know there's Schwarber things to work out with them as well. So maybe they just focus on him and don't get involved for Bregman. And then the Royals, like Heyman mentioned last night, and as I wrote about on SI.com today, like the Royals spent $136 million on payroll this year, $125 million last year. So they'd have to get comfortable going quite significantly higher than that. But the fit from a baseball perspective makes a ton of sense. It's a young team. It's a team that needs way more offense, and they can move Maikel Garcia to second. So long story short, it should be plenty of suitors, and pretty much everyone has still said, like, we consider the Red Sox the favorite, but that doesn't mean anything is a foregone conclusion by any means.
As we have definitely seen. And I'm wondering who out of that you expect to be the most aggressive. I know it's such early days. Is it as simple as Detroit, who was right there with the Red Sox at the very end last year? Are there any one of these teams that you expect to really put in priority number one of the offseason being Alex Bregman?
Yeah, I think it's pretty much as simple as it being the Red Sox and the Tigers. Again, I caution, I hate to get comfortable saying anything is definitive this far out still, because we have to wait until 5 days after the World Series for the opt-out to become official. And then last year it took them until February, like the middle of February, to sign. So at some point this offseason, it's going to feel like the Red Sox are definitely going to lose him. And at some point it's going to feel like, why hasn't he come back yet? There's no other suitors. And that's just kind of the nature of the reporting cycle and the way Boris handles free agency and all that good stuff. So I'm not, making any predeterminations, but as far as like both money to spend, fit from a baseball perspective, familiarity with, the people in the building, the Tigers feel like the second best fit behind the Red Sox because of that AJ Hinch connection, because they were willing to spend over $170 million on them last offseason. And I'm curious to see how it all shakes out.
Do you expect the Yankees to be in on this at all?
I would say no. I mean, I don't think you make that Ryan McMahon trade if you're planning on going for Alex Bregman. And, McMahon's under contract for 2 more years, and the Yankees, I don't really think they have much of the farm system coming, but I don't really see. I mean, the only way I could maybe see that happening is if the Yankees consider trading Jazz Chisholm this offseason, which has been something that Joel Sherman's floated a couple times, but I haven't really heard much like in terms of like the Yankees actually considering it. It's more like a possibility that would make sense based on his contract. So if the Yankees are willing to like free up some infield space with Jazz and have Bregman come in and take over, I wouldn't really see that, just because of the positions that things work out a little bit wonky there. But otherwise, I would say the Yankees are probably not in on this one.
Well, that's good. That is good to hear, first and foremost. But if it's the Red Sox and the Tigers, which that's what all the reports were last season, that's certainly what the early reports are right now. With all the moves that the Red Sox have to make in this offseason, where does Alex Bregman re-signing fall on the priority list for how you look at this Red Sox team?
That's a good question, because I think a lot of people would say it's number one, and it could be for sure. But it's like the Red Sox just need to like keep taking this next step in their trajectory, right? Like, you made the playoffs this year. You saw the ownership commit to spending a little bit more again. It kind of depends to me on how much budget you're going to have. Like if you're going to have the ability to go after, say, a Bregman and a Pete Alonso, then by all means, like lock up Bregman immediately and then turn your attention to Alonso, trading for pitching, et cetera, et cetera. If you really have the bandwidth to only make one signing, I think that becomes a much weirder conversation about like whether someone like Alonso is a better fit than Bregman if you can only have one or the other. At the end of the day, I'd probably still lean Bregman just from a leadership perspective and also just the optics of the whole situation. I hate that this is such a factor, but he played a huge role in the trade of Rafael Devers, like his arrival and the whole thing, the discontent that pushed Rafi out of town, essentially. So if that happened, if you basically alienated your franchise player, traded him, and then that's just for 1 year of Bregman, that would make very little sense. So I hate that it like breaks down to, you know, how things look when it should all just be about on the field, but you're going to lose a pretty significant portion of the support you built up from the fan base this season if that ends up happening. So a lot of factors to consider. Hard to say like what priority 1, 2, and 3 should be when you think all 3 are important, but I definitely think re-signing Bregman is high on the list.
Yeah, you mentioned that last part about alienating Devers as a result of it. Like that's where it could become a true disaster. Like if you just don't pony up the money, no matter if it's right or not, like that does then alienate your fan base of like, wow, we finally put in on somebody and it just blew up in all of our faces. Like we got the worst case scenario out of it, losing Devers for nothing and then losing Bregman for nothing, which is on the table. I think the Red Sox will be aggressive here, but that definitely is on the table. And that's what certainly, and obviously getting Devers or trading Devers for nothing was to free up a ton of money to potentially sign someone like an Alex Bregman. So it would be, in my opinion, a complete disaster if that happened. And I know there's an underbelly of Red Sox fans right now. I won't say the majority of them that are like, fine, go. He sucked the last month and a half of the season. He doesn't want $40 million. Go ahead, see what you can get. And I understand that. But that said, we look at an all-star first half before he got hurt. And we also see what he did for this lineup throughout the second half of the year as well. What was the most important part to you of what Alex Bregman did for the Red Sox this year?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of things you bring up there. I think what sticks out to me, and, you know, most important is a strange term, but one thing that I really would be worried about losing is just that mentorship aspect with the young hitters, particularly Roman Anthony, who, when you saw Anthony batting leadoff in front of Bregman, you had that left-right combo at the top of the order. That was the most fearsome the Red Sox lineup was all year. And just today, we're hearing anecdotes. Pete Fatsi, the Red Sox hitting coach, went on the Baseball Isn't Boring podcast, and he told a story about how essentially he fixed Roman Anthony, Bregman did, just in the middle of a series in Philadelphia earlier this summer. And it was a change the Red Sox were wanting to make with Anthony's swing, but Bregman basically just like grabbed him, brought him to the cage and said, let's do it. And he's got his hands, you know, instead of like this big load like this, all of a sudden he's just presetting here. And from that point forward, he goes and hits 320 the rest of the season with a 945 OPS. And the Red Sox went 21-13 in those games he played after that series. So it's the mentorship. It's just like the legitimacy that having an Alex Bregman brings to your team. The guy's never missed the playoffs in 9 years as a big leaguer. It's just a lot. And I think as much as, you know, he did struggle down the stretch, and you think about like the value proposition of signing a guy into his late 30s, the fact is you have a chance to win right now, and losing him would deal a serious blow to your hopes of winning next season.
I think it was, what was it? Long hand load. Is that what they called it on Roman? It was some like way inside baseball term. That's even too much for me.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, it does make sense though. Cause like, if
yeah,
you just think about like his hands being way out in front here, and he has to bring them all the way back and then all the way back through, like Alex Bregman has seen a lot of baseball, and he's just like, why do you need to do all that? Just set your hands early and drive it, because you got plenty of bat speed.
And we heard stories about that all season long, right? We heard stories about him just, you know, being in the manager's office all the time, looking at a ton of film for other guys. That's not even him. Like that's not part of his contract. Yeah, that's not part of his contract to help out the pitchers and some of the young guys on the team. But that was certainly invaluable for the Red Sox this year, and can be down the line. Because again, what you talked about, like, I don't know, maybe this gets overblown in baseball, but like, there's not a lot of winners in that clubhouse, you know, because the Red Sox haven't done a lot of winning. Like Alex Bregman is one of the winners in Major League Baseball right now. Like, you'd be hard-pressed to find one who's had more than 100 postseason games and a couple of World Series rings. Like, the dude just plays in October every single year. And it would be very 2020s Red Sox if they don't re-sign him. And if that, let's play out that nightmare scenario, Jackson, that they don't re-sign him. What direction would the Red Sox go? And what do you think the excuse would be?
Yeah, it depends if they like truly got outbid. If they made like and these reports may or may not get out when it happens, but if they made a very competitive offer and there was just some team that was willing to go like to the $200 million threshold, then I think it becomes okay, let's take all that money and use it on 3 other guys. And you can, between maybe like a 5-year deal for Alonso and maybe a couple other supplementary signings, maybe you get like a mid-rotation starter out of that. Like, there's a way to salvage it where it doesn't look terrible. But if it's clear that it's just like, okay, we spent, what is it, like 10 million over the luxury tax this year, and we're just done doing that. And sorry, we roped you into thinking we were going to spend, and we got rid of that Devers contract and just didn't reallocate it. And, here's Marcelo Meyer and Christian Campbell in your opening day lineup. Like, that's going to be, very bad news for the fan base. You're going to alienate a lot of people quite quickly. So, I mean, I think you can pivot if you end up losing him. I don't want to think about what that looks like necessarily, because I don't think it's necessarily going to turn out pretty, but there's a way you can stretch that money you were planning on giving him into, again, I think if you don't get one of Bregman or Alonso, or I'll throw Schwarber in there, even though I think he's going back to Philadelphia, if you don't get one of those 3 bats this offseason, it's hard to imagine you getting, a passing grade from all of the evaluators out there. But I'm not going to say that like the offseason is a failure because you lose him. I just think it heavily indicates that you're headed that direction.
And I think for a lot of Red Sox fans, there's not going to be a lot of sympathy, and this is harsh, but there's not going to be a lot of sympathy if you don't get 2 of those 3 bats. One of them is already here and seems to like it here. There's going to be a lot of Red Sox fans who are thinking you should be able to get 2 and trade for a big-time starting pitcher, although there's definitely the idea that there could be 2 starting pitchers that the Red Sox need to go and get. But after having said all this about Alex Bregman and weighing through what his market's going to be, what he's kind of looking for, what he means to the Red Sox, do you think the Red Sox will re-sign him?
I'm feeling on this day, on October 15th, like it's about an 85% chance of them re-signing him, which is pretty good. Guys who hit 150 get hits all the time. So, just look at the Cleveland Guardians lineup. They somehow managed to score runs. So I'm not saying it's definitely going to happen. That's just kind of the way I'm feeling on this particular day. Like you said, I feel like he liked his time in Boston this year. Obviously, he means a ton to that lineup, and Alex Cora has spoken very highly of him. I'm curious to see if we get more reports this offseason about the baseball operations, people not being on the same page about liking him as much as, say, like a Cora and a Sam Kennedy. But at the end of the day, I feel like, Craig Breslow, as much as, people talk about, some of the negative impacts or some of the negative aspects of his, tenure as chief baseball officer, he has made big moves. And I don't think that he's willing to just like let this off season go by with the loss of Bregman and not like significantly pivoting and re-signing, some big names. So that's mostly what's carrying me through here, is I feel like that's the most obvious move you can make to at least, check the box on it being a successful offseason. And then you can kind of start, trying to throw your weight around elsewhere, like in that starting pitching market.
You bring up a good point, because I do want to ask about the starting pitching in a second, but it is important to remember that as much as we all liked the Alex Bregman signing, it was not a consensus within that front office and that staff. So that'll be very interesting to see, when he's seeking a 5-6 year deal potentially as a guy entering his age 32 season, what that could look like to the Red Sox front office. But you mentioned starting pitching there. To me, that is still the biggest priority of the offseason, I guess, Bregman aside. You wrote this week about the Joe Ryan trade packages that the Red Sox could send to Minnesota. That's still the number one guy for me, Joe Ryan, and you're in a position for the first time in a while where you can make some trades. Like the Red Sox almost have a surplus of guys to where they can make some big time trades here. So what I want to ask you is this: who would you not trade in those proposed packages to Minnesota?
That's a good question. I'm such a Peyton Tolley guy. I think between Tolley and Connolly early, I think the easy thing to do would be to say, like, oh, Early had the success down the stretch. Early was the one who got the playoff start. Like, I want to keep Connolly early. Peyton Tolley, he couldn't find his secondary pitches. So, maybe he's not the guy. I think there's so much value in a guy like Peyton Tolley, who has like a unicorn fastball, essentially, where he's releasing the ball closer to home plate than any left-handed pitcher in the game right now, including Aroldis Chapman. And we saw what he was this year out of the bullpen. So I think you give Tolley an offseason to work on, some of he's got like the gyro slider, and then he can work on the changeup. There's a lot of things that he can do to develop this offseason and really become, long-term kind of that, he could be that number 2 starter in a couple of years. I'm not saying he's going to be that right away by any means, but to me, he's the most special talent in that, young pitching core they have, with Early not far behind. But if you have to give up one of them, I think I'd be more inclined to sell high on Early. From a position player perspective, I don't know. I think the thing about that Joe Ryan trade is I don't know. Obviously, there were reports at the trade deadline that the Twins were looking for a big league outfielder. I don't know that will still be the case. I really don't know how they're viewing their own rebuild. But I'm comfortable giving up one of Jarren Duran or Wilyer Abreu in that move. And I think as much as I love Abreu and what he brings to the table, kind of the way his second half transpired, made me come around to the idea that he could be traded, because he's kind of been the same player in both of his first 2 seasons. He had this hot start in year 2, and we thought he was kind of taking that next step to being like a legitimate middle of the order bat. But for all the skills he has, he's kind of been a platoon player so far through 2 years and hasn't been given the chance to hit against lefties. And I don't know if they're going to give him that chance anytime soon. And that, plus the injury concerns, plus the big slump down the stretch, like I think it's okay to consider moving Abreu when you're talking about getting a talent like a Joe Ryan.
We're going to have to bring you back on, because there's so much that can be said about Joe Ryan and the pitchers that are out there in a weird free agent class. And I know that's right up your alley. So we're definitely going to have to make some time, so I don't make this all about Joe Ryan and looking at some of the trade packages. But Jackson, you said it. You've got some going out today. You've been covering, obviously, the Red Sox all season long, and you are an off-season guru, self-proposed. So tell people where they can find your work and how they can follow along throughout what's going to be a very interesting off-season for the Red Sox.
Absolutely. At Red Sox on SI. You can find my author page. I have 5 pieces going up today, so we're certainly moving and shaking over there. And yeah, I mean, other than that, just catch me back here on the Cam Show at some point, and we'll talk more off season.
Yes, and we certainly will have Jackson back at some point, in a couple of points in this offseason. The season's over, and Jackson really is just getting started when it comes to work. Jackson, thanks so much for taking the time and joining us once again.
Anytime.
There he goes. Jackson Roberts, Sports Illustrated, Boston Red Sox on SI. Check his stuff out, especially in this offseason. He is laying out the trade packages, the free agency priorities. It is really, really great stuff, and we certainly are going to look forward to having him back on the show throughout this Red Sox offseason. But let me know what you think about Alex Bregman opting out. Let me know in the comment section below. Do you think it's priority number 1 for the Red Sox to re-sign him? Is that paramount for this offseason? Let me know in the comment section. Then be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. We come at you live every weekday on YouTube, noon Eastern time, and then we're available wherever you get your podcasts as well. So check out the channel, see the other videos we have going out about the Red Sox, the Patriots, Bruins, everything else going on in the world of Boston sports. Coming up next, Nick Suss of The Tennessean will join to talk Mike Vrabel, to talk Brian Callahan's firing, and maybe some of the revisionist history that Titans fans have with Mike Vrabel, and why Vrabel's definitely circled this game on the calendar, going for some revenge in Nashville. That's coming up next on The Cam Show.
Circulon C1 Series Clad with Scratch Defense Non-Stick. Maximize cooking, minimize cleaning. Discover the unmatched durability and elegance scratch-free, worry-free, forever.
At Covers & All, we've revolutionized protective solutions with cutting-edge, customizable covers, tarps, and curtains. We deliver premier protection at affordable prices and express shipping. Visit coversandall.com today for the perfect fit, guaranteed to last.
Send money abroad in just a few steps with Remitly. Sign up with your email, enter an amount, choose how your loved ones receive the money, enter your recipient's information, select a payment method, hit send, and relax. Download the Remitly app today.
Your season, your shot. The NFL season is rolling, and every touchdown can bring you closer to a payout with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. From first touchdown scorer to anytime TD props, or the thrill of live in-game betting, every snap is loaded with opportunity. New customers, this one is for you. Bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Plus, score over $200 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code CAMSHOW. That's code CAMSHOW to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you place your first $5 bet. Plus, over $200 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 8778-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-3669. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Fees may apply in Illinois. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos. NFL Sunday Ticket offer for new subscribers only and auto renews until canceled. Digital games and commercial use excluded. Restrictions apply. Additional NFL Sunday Ticket terms at youtube.com/go/NFL Sunday Ticket/terms. Limited time offer.
Experience the future of secure private cloud storage with Internix. Protect your files with end-to-end encryption, ensuring your data stays private and accessible only to you. That's INTERNXT.com today.
Welcome to Market XLS, your all-in-one Excel solution for investors. Designed as an enterprise-grade platform, Market XLS caters to investment managers, secure and efficient investment management and research. Book your free demo.
What if you could clean clean? With bio-based formulas and deep cleaning enzymes. No dyes, phthalates, or mystery ingredients. Just powerful pods for your dishes and laundry. Now you can, with drops made clean, made to clean.
On the Cam Show, Rogue Media Sports Network, it's Patriots and Titans on Sunday, and a bit of a shakeup on the sideline in Nashville. We will not see Mike Vrabel versus the guy who replaced him in Tennessee. Brian Callahan out after a 4-19 record through just over a season at the helm. So here to break it down with us, Nick Suss of The Tennessean, covering the Titans. He covered both of these coaches. And Nick, let me just ask you this. It was kind of breaking news around the league this week. I think a lot of people expected Mike McDaniel to be the first coach to go, but this didn't feel like it was much of a surprise for Tennessee.
No, I mean, well, one, we can say the Titans have now fired a chief executive decision maker 4 years in a row. It was John Robinson in 22, it was Vrabel in 23, it was Carthon in 24, and now Callahan in 25. So it's hardly a surprise when this front office makes a decision to move on from somebody pretty quickly. And two, the Titans have not played well this season. I think that you can easily say if the Titans are not the worst team in the NFL, they are bottom three. The Jets are up there. The Dolphins are up there. There are some other bad teams in the NFL, but if you've actually watched the product the Titans have put on the field, they are 1-5 because the Cardinals gifted them a game in the fourth quarter. And I will say the Titans played well while the Cardinals were gifting them that game in the fourth quarter, but that was a pure gift. That was 3 turnovers that were totally unforced and weird quarterback playing through a foot injury, and it was very, very strange. So all of that is to say the 4-19 record is one thing, but the fact that they went 3-14 last year and got worse this year with Cam Ward as your number one quarterback. I've been illustrating this stat a lot. Last year, when the Titans went 3-14 and earned the number one pick behind a really, really bad offense, they played one game where they had 4.0 or fewer yards per play. This year, through 6 games, they've done it 4 times. It is remarkable how bad this offense has been. And when Callahan was hired to be the offensive guy, it is rational that the front office can say growth has not happened yet.
And the way you talk about that one win, it sounds very familiar to the way the Patriots started 1-0 in 2024. And certainly you got an up close and personal look at how bad that Patriots team was as well down in Nashville last year. And now you sit here a year later and they're 4-2, and we'll certainly get to that part of it in a second. But back to this move and Callahan, and you say it keeps getting worse and worse. You actually wrote for the Tennessean this week about some of the big moments, some of the big instances that were contributing towards this firing of Brian Callahan. What was the moment for you where you said they just can't come back from that?
I think it was probably week 3 this year against the Colts. And like, this is not a knock on the Colts. I did not expect the Colts to be as good as they have been this year. They are remarkably strong when they stay on schedule, and they always seem to be on schedule. A lot of credit for that. But there was a moment right before halftime where the Titans were trying to decide between kicking a long field goal or going for a 4th and short. And they're setting up for a 57-yarder, and they take a timeout, and then the other team takes a timeout. And then coming out of the back-to-back timeouts, the Titans had to take a delay of game because they still hadn't decided what they wanted to do. And then they ended up trying a 62-yard field goal after the delay of game, and it got tipped at the line of scrimmage and went awry. And that was kind of when I started being on high alert of, oh, I think a change might come in season. The vibes were just off. And that is not to say that's the moment the front office made the decision. There have been some other moments this season that fans have been up in arms about. There were decisions in week 1 about passing 3 times right before halftime from backed up inside your own 5-yard line and allowing the clock to stop and then having to punt, and the Broncos ended up scoring when the Titans could have just gone into halftime with a lead. In that same game, there was a moment where it seemed that Brian Callahan did not know the rules on catches and challenges. I can tell you from backroom discussions, off-the-record discussions, that's not necessarily true. NFL coaches do know rules, and it's more complicated than we
that's
think.
promising. That's promising. Yeah.
But that moment does reflect poorly on the situation. And then all of that culminates in week 4. The Titans are playing in Houston, and anyone who knows their NFL history knows that Titans versus Texans has a very specific kind of rivalry given the Titans' origins. And the Titans go down there and get shut out. I think it was the first time the Titans had been shut out in 15 years and the first time the Texans had shut anybody out in 15 years. And so after those couple of games, it started to feel like, hey, writing's on the wall. And then frankly, I thought it would happen after this week. Maybe it's petty. I thought they would let him face Vrabel and then get angry. But firing him before the Vrabel game does, change the circumstances.
Yeah, that leads me right into the next question, actually. And I wonder how intentional this timing was. Now Amy Adams Strunk doesn't have to see the guy she shooed away, that none of the fans really wanted to have shoot away, facing his replacement, who has really had a whale of a time. So you thought it was going to happen after this week, but when it comes at the beginning of this week with Mike Vrabel coming into town, do you think that's an intentional play?
I can tell you the company line is no. Okay. And I don't want to say anybody is misleading anybody. So I will leave it at that. The company line is this was not related to Vrabel. It is related to a lack of growth. It is related to the team not getting better when the whole point of this season was, hey, maybe we're not going to win a lot of games, but we need to get better. Yeah. And the team hasn't been getting better. Now, the timing is suspicious. And people are going to draw their own conclusions. And I am not telling you not to draw your conclusions. But out of respect for the people I cover and the people I speak to, I will leave it at that.
And hey, it is easy for that to be the company line too. You know, we keep talking about a 4-19 record and how they're getting worse. It is also easy for them to point to that too and say, well, it's not getting better. So the timing is what the timing is. But that said, Vrabel comes back for the first time. And I'm wondering here, you know, he's been beloved in New England because he was a great player here and things are going well so far. And I think everyone likes having a Mike Vrabel as their coach, right?
Sure.
Guy that the players like after the game on Sunday and not really much of the rest of the week, but the attention to detail, the intensity, the style that he likes to play. How is he remembered in Tennessee? I know the last 2 years weren't that great, but what is that relationship between Vrabel and the fans?
It's such a strange revisionist history moment right now because of how bad the Titans have been since he left. Mike Vrabel went 6-18 in his last 24 games as Titans head coach. When Mike Vrabel had prime Derrick Henry and burgeoning prime A.J. Brown and a really serviceable quarterback in Ryan Tannehill and a super strong defensive front and all of these superstars, they were stellar. And then that 21 season where they went 12-5 and had the number one seed in the AFC was such a strange year. I don't know if you recall, the Titans played 91 players that year. That is an NFL record for most players fielded in an NFL season. And they went 12-5 and were the number one seed in an AFC that had Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
That is one of the more remarkable coaching performances of you're picking people up off the street. Derrick Henry gets hurt and you go sign like a 38-year-old Adrian Peterson or something. And then Deontay Foreman, and you're making it work. And so that memory is so strong for people. But then that thing stopped working. The whole picking people up off the street and just succeeding. I tell people all the time. So my first week on the Titans beat, I believe was week 7 of the 22 season, which was Malik Willis's first start right when Ryan Tannehill got hurt. The Titans, I think, were 5-2 at that point, and they ended that season 7-10, famously lost 7 in a row after starting 7-3 to end that season outside of the playoffs. That was the year they fired John Robinson mid-season. And this is where the avalanche starts. It's impossible to extract Vrabel's downfall from John Robinson's downfall. You had a stretch where 3 straight first-round picks were 2020 Isaiah Wilson, arguably the worst first-round pick in the history of the National Football League. He played 4 career snaps. All of them were on extra points. He was one game traded immediately, never played. Next year was Caleb Farley, who already had pre-existing back, and my cat just knocked a glass of water over. Cool. Had pre-existing back and knee injuries, was hurt his entire career, didn't work out. 2022, Treylon Burks, you trade A.J. Brown for the ability to go pick Treylon Burks. He caught 1 touchdown in 3 years and has since been cut. The second round picks, none of them are on the team. The third round picks, I think one of them is still on the team from those 3 drafts. You have those 3 drafts that right now are supposed to be in year 4, 5, and 6, your core players on your team. You've got 2 players left from any of those drafts, a nickel corner and a rotational tight end. The roster degraded. The roster got older. They put a lot of emphasis into winning with Derrick Henry, winning with Ryan Tannehill, winning now. And those moves they made, bringing in the likes of Bud Dupree and Vic Beasley and Jadeveon Clowney and like win now moves, didn't strengthen the roster long-term. And the roster degraded. And for as good of a coach as Vrabel was, winning his way stopped working. So yes, there is a large faction of the Titans fan base that wanted Vrabel to stay. But I think the revisionist history is, he should have stayed because Brian Callahan was worse. I do think that there was a lot of push for Vrabel to be moved on from some of the sections of the fan base after that 23 season. They'd gone 6-11. They weren't very good. And you had Derrick Henry heading to free agency, Ryan Tannehill heading to free agency. He was frictive with the new GM, and some people took the GM side, some people took Vrabel's side. There was that strange moment where Vrabel went back to New England for his Ring of Honor ceremony and was very complimentary of the crafts, and that did not
we
sit
have
well.
a game to win, I believe was the quote. Yeah.
That did not sit well with certain Titans fans who thought that Vrabel had a foot out the door and was jockeying for Belichick's job. It's way more complicated than, the Titans fans didn't want to see Vrabel go. There are many who didn't, but we also have to explain the context of these last 5 years of Titans football is strange and wild and not quite as black and white as, people liked Vrabel. They did. They really did. And there's an argument that he oversaw the most successful era of Titans football since moving to Nashville. But there is also plain results that those last 2 years were very, very strange.
So they could have been 3-14 even with Vrabel last year.
I think that last year's team probably has a little bit higher of a ceiling with Vrabel as a coach, but I don't think that's a playoff team last year with Vrabel as a coach. I don't think that Will Levis was a guy who was going to take you to the playoffs. I don't think that their defense had near enough talent to produce. And 3-14 might have been a stretch, but that could have been a 5 or 6 win team with Vrabel.
And talking about that faction of the fan base that is putting that revisionist history out, that's thinking that way, how much more frustrating does that make it to see a Patriots team come in, albeit with an easy schedule so far, but sitting at 4-2, sitting atop the AFC East after you've just fired your coach? Do you think that brings even more animosity from a fan base this weekend?
Look, I know I'm long-winded. I'm going to answer this question very, very simply with 2 rhetorical questions. Okay. What did you say Brian Callahan's record was with the Titans?
And you don't want that answered. Is that right?
No, go for it. Go for it.
4-19.
And what is Mike Vrabel's record with the Patriots?
4-2.
That's how they feel.
How can they not?
It's very simple.
Yeah. And looking at that, you covered Vrabel towards the end there, and as things weren't going well, but knowing what you know about him, do you think this is a game that he's got scheduled or circled on the calendar, so to speak?
Yeah. I mean, who wouldn't? This is not a Vrabel thing. This is a human thing. Who in their right mind wouldn't want to stick it to the old boss that fired them? Especially when the old team, the old boss, the old employer is at its low point. Like, I don't think this is the primary thing on Mike Vrabel's mind, but I do think it is significant. I do think that it does matter, because who wouldn't it matter to? Like, the Titans gave him his shot. The Titans made him an NFL head coach for the first time. He succeeded. He got them to an AFC championship game. He got them to the playoffs 3 times. He won coach of the year. And they fired him. Who wouldn't have feelings about that?
And I know, this whole week has been really about Brian Callahan, but looking at this Patriots team coming in, are you starting to see some of the kind of positive attributes that he gave to those Titans teams for a team that's sitting at 4-2 that was at 4-13 a year ago?
Yes and no. Of like, if you look at the peripheral stats that I tend to think matter in the NFL, the Patriots aren't stunningly stellar at them right now. They are not dominating in the red zone. They are league average with pass rush stuff. They're a little bit above average on third downs. The stuff that make and break games, they're not top of the world. Where they are top of the world is Drake May seems really good. And I'm not going to oversell it. I'm not going to undersell it. He seems really good. I don't think Mike Vrabel ever had a quarterback like Drake May in Nashville. And I'm a guy who thinks Ryan Tannehill was probably underrated over that period. But I looked this up this morning. I don't know if you guys have seen this stat. The only quarterbacks who have scrambled more often this season than Drake May are Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. The way he is extending plays, the way he is finding players where they're open, when they're open, is remarkable. And that helps. That really helps. That's going to take a team that maybe could be 2-4 right now, maybe could be 3-3 right now, and win him a couple of extra games. I am seeing some of the things that were questionable about Vrabel be questionable in New England. The unwillingness to use rookies early in the year, I think, is rearing its head. You guys have talked about that a lot.
Yep. Travion Henderson,
The soft tissue injuries that crop up in practice seem to be cropping up. Christian Gonzalez has one that lingered for quite a while. There are certain things that were, this might be unique to Vrabel, that were negative, but there are also certain things that might be unique to Vrabel. I was sitting in the press box after the Titans game in Arizona, and that was right around when Patriots-Bills was starting. And it's 0-0, 15 minutes left in the first quarter. Game just started. And I turn to a Titans beat writer who's been around the team a long time. And I just go, oh, Vrabel game. And he looks at me and goes, Vrabel game. And what that means in Nashville, which you guys will come to learn, if the Patriots are ever playing a primetime game where they are the underdog, they're going to win. That's a Vrabel game.
Okay.
Mike Vrabel,
I like that, but
if it's a primetime game, if everybody's watching and nobody thinks the Patriots are going to win, they're going to win. Because that's what Mike Vrabel does. Time and time again. Whether it was the Titans upsetting the Rams on Sunday Night Football after, like, 3 days after Derrick Henry got hurt, Vrabel game. Going into Miami when they were on pace to be the number 1 seed and the Titans were like a 3-win team winning on Monday Night Football, Vrabel game. Upsetting the Chiefs like 21-3 just because they figured out how to stop Patrick Mahomes, Vrabel game. That happens. So I had no doubt in my mind. I saw like 4 plays of that game. I was like, oh, Vrabel game. Patriots are going to win. Because that's kind of what his specialty is. You take a point where nobody thinks you have a shot. You go into New England in the playoffs in 2019, 2020, take Tom Brady out. Vrabel game. Next week, number 1 seed Ravens that were unstoppable, take out Lamar Jackson. Vrabel game. That's what happens. That's what he does. So that is the most positive attribute I can say, is that has not gone anywhere.
Well, what about when he's the favorite, though?
Yeah, it's
Toss-up.
It's rarer. The Titans were rarely the favorites. People didn't really talk about the Titans very much. But yeah, the one time the Titans were the number 1 seed, they did lose at home in the divisional round. So it's different, but he can play that nobody believes in us card and rally the troops really well.
He saw that firsthand. He and Rodney Harrison and Willie McGinnis, just us against the world, 21 straight wins, and nobody believes in us. Sure. So certainly Mike Vrabel could play that card. Nick Suss of the Tennessean, you've been doing some preview of the game this week, along with the kind of Brian Callahan fallout. For those who want to get the Titans side of things, maybe learn some more about Cam Ward before we get to this game, how can they find your work?
Yeah, Tennessean.com. That's TENNESSEAN, and then a dot and then a com. I don't tweet very much. I don't like it. It makes me feel bad and sick. I am on Twitter at Nick Suss if you want to see like 3 or 4 tweets a week. I promise I'm not going to overload you. And other than that, if you're in Nashville this weekend and see me on the street, I'm the guy who looks like this. This might be a radio show. I don't know if anybody sees me.
No, we'll see.
Okay. But yeah, if anybody sees me in Nashville, come say hey.
He's got a bit of a Marcelo Meyer look for some Red Sox fans who are heading down there as well. And certainly there'll be some Patriots fans in Nashville. This is a great getaway for all of them. I wish I could. But Nick Suss of the Tennessean breaking it down. Mike Vrabel returns to Nashville this weekend. We will have some more reaction and some preview of this game coming up next on The Cam Show.
Dive into adventure with scuba.com, your ultimate destination for top-tier scuba and snorkeling gear. Whether you're a beginner or a pro, trust scuba.com for the best in diving equipment and expert guidance. Explore now at scuba.com. That's SCUBA.com. Scuba.com.
It's the Restore Clarity Focus Patch, my little secret weapon for staying sharp, focused, and on task. Each box comes with simple instructions inside, so you always know exactly how to apply it. Each patch lasts for 3 days. I love that I can wear it all day.
This is what $500,000 in a duffel bag looks like. Actually not real. That's because it's actually prop money. It looks realistic from a distance, but up close you can see it says for motion picture purposes. Visit propmoney.com today to get your money seen or money shot right with Prop Money Inc.
Golf Partner, the world's largest golf store network, offers more purchasing opportunities than anywhere else. With a dominant market share and a wider selection of quality secondhand golf clubs than our competitors, we make it easy for you to enjoy the game with affordable, top-quality equipment. Golf Partner.
It doesn't matter if your investment budget is small or big. All you need is Benzinga Pro and its powerful news alerts, price tracking, and portfolio monitoring. Subscribe now, and we'll skyrocket your portfolio today.
Experience with the Bosley MD hair regrowth kit was amazing. It was easy to use. It let me take off my hat. I could go in public and have my picture taken and feel normal again.
BosleyMD.com.
Back to the show. Cam Show, Rogue Media Sports Network. It's called that because I'm Cam Stewart, your host, Zach Burke, behind the glass, keeping us on the air 5 days a week live on YouTube and then where you get your podcasts as well. How about Nick Suss? How about Jackson Roberts? We've had a great two-guest day here on the Cam Show. We'll react to both here. I want to talk about Nick first. And I'm not going to lie. Obviously, I'm not a Titans fan. I have obviously followed them in the lens of another team in the NFL, another team that's been bad. But I like what Nick had to say there in terms of like, it is a bit of revisionist history when it comes to these Titan fans, because that's all I've seen all week on social media and online. It's just, oh, we should never let this guy go. And now look what happens. You get Brian Callahan, 4-19. You got to can him too. And Nick laid it out pretty well there of like, look, the end was not great for Mike Vrabel. And it just happened to be that the next guy was even worse and did not, get the ship above water in any way. And so now Titans fans are like, man, I'd kill to have Mike Vrabel back. I'd give anything to have Mike Vrabel back. Well, you are going to see Mike Vrabel with a good team this Sunday. And the other thing Nick said in there that really intrigued me was about Vrabel's way of winning wasn't winning anymore. And that he did miss on quite a few big-time draft picks. And when we talk about a team in the Patriots that has nothing out of their 2024 draft except their starting quarterback, which is big, but nobody else, and have nothing from the 2022 draft, for a team that's rebuilding, like you're going to hit a wall at some point. I think Vrabel did a good job with free agency. I think this year's draft is hopefully a good job, but Will Campbell's obviously been terrific, but like Travion Henderson, the only real knock we've had on Mike Vrabel so far is he's not playing Travion Henderson. That's a premium draft pick. That's a second round draft pick. And so I do wonder if that means the ceiling is a little bit lower for Vrabel than we thought it would be. Again, this is a good time right now, and things are definitely looking up. I don't want this to sound too pessimistic. But is he going to be one of those guys who is pretty successful in a 4 or 5 year span, but can't quite get you over the top and is not going to lead a 10-year era? You know what I mean? I guess it all changes if you have the quarterback. And certainly Ryan Tannehill was a very decent quarterback in this league. Like he was above average quarterback in this league. Drake May has a chance to be really, really special. So maybe that just makes the whole difference. I also want to talk about this Bregman opt-out. Obviously not much of a surprise, but now it's hitting the fan here for the Red Sox. Like it's about to hit the fan. Like you've got to do something with Alex Bregman, whether he's priority number 1 or maybe priority number 2. He is right at the top of that list for what the Red Sox do this offseason. Now that Alex Bregman is opted out, obviously priority number 1 or 2 for the Red Sox to have him on their team next year. But with a potentially robust market here, and we're hearing team names that we didn't hear last year, what I'm thinking is, where is the worst place Alex Bregman can go if he's not going to play in Boston next year? Because last year, the talk was the Red Sox and the Cubs to a certain extent, but really the Red Sox and the Tigers all the way up till the end of this sweepstakes. And this year, it is going to be the Red Sox and the Tigers, as Jackson Roberts said earlier in the show. Like those are going to be the two teams for sure. But there's still some buzz around maybe the Yankees. There is still the Royals are a name that's being thrown into the mix here. And the one that scares me the most is the Toronto Blue Jays are now rumored to be in on Alex Bregman when he hits free agency. I don't think the Yankees thing's going to happen. And if he goes to Detroit or Seattle or Kansas City, it's not good because he's not playing for your team. But if he goes to Toronto, that could be the worst case scenario for the Red Sox. And then you got to play against him in your division for a team that, if they don't get the offseason right in Toronto, they might not be as much a competition to you next year as the Yankees are. But then the defending division champs, they slugged the crap out of the Yankees in that ALDS series, something you couldn't even come close to doing in the wild card series with Alex Bregman on your team. And if you add some Vlad Guerrero Jr. protection with Alex Bregman in the lineup, That becomes a scary proposition for a lineup in Toronto that is already much better than yours. Now, the Blue Jays have a lot to face in this offseason. They've got to look long and hard at their pitching staff, specifically Bassett, and whether to re-sign him, whether to re-sign Bo Bichette. That becomes a big name after having to dole out the extension to Vlad Guerrero Jr. this year. You can look at it two different ways. The Blue Jays can have a lot of money to spend in this offseason, or they could be significantly worse because they have a lot of money to spend. But if they have the money to spend and they go out and get Alex Bregman on a 5-year deal, that doesn't make that lineup any worse. Alex Bregman's a better player than Bo Bichette. That's an upgrade for the Blue Jays. And to me, that would be the worst case scenario for the Red Sox, is if you traded Rafael Devers for nothing player-wise. The only benefit somewhat of trading Rafi Devers was to free up some money. But if you alienated him and made him force his way out because you brought in Alex Bregman, then lose Bregman after 1 year and don't even have the money to sign him from that Rafael Devers trade, that is the worst possible scenario for the Red Sox. That can only be made worse. The worst possible scenario that can only be made worse if he goes to another team within your division, another team that's already better than you in your division, a lineup that's already better than yours and made it further than you did in the postseason. That would be absolute Red Sox offseason ground zero. That would be the worst outcome that this team could possibly have, because then it would turn the fans on you too. You finally got ambitious for the first time in forever in free agency, and you lose him after 1 year, and he goes to a division rival in the Toronto Blue Jays. That would be an unmitigated disaster. Because look, Toronto is not really going anywhere. There's absolutely every opportunity that they're not as good next year as they were this year. They're probably not going to be division champs 2 years in a row. But they're still a pretty solid team, and you're going to be competing with them in the AL East all season long, as well as with the Yankees. And with Toronto specifically, you're going to be battling them in the offseason. You think you need pitching? The Blue Jays are going to need pitching outside of Bassett, who they might not even re-sign. You look at some of these free agent names out there, like a Ranger Suarez or a Dylan Cease, you're going to be looking at them, and so are the Blue Jays. Oh, well, you can make a trade for Joe Ryan. So can the Blue Jays. They've done this to you before with Jose Barrios. Now, it worked out that the Red Sox didn't get him, but they have done this before. And the Blue Jays have not lacked ambition in the last 10 years or so when it comes to the market. They're not the biggest market team. They're not that far off. But they also have not lacked much ambition there. And it is sweeping that nation right now in Canada, even though they're down 2-0 in the ALCS. This becomes a humongous deal that the Blue Jays are even there and winning baseball games again and looking better than the Red Sox and the Yankees again. They're not going to want this to be a 1-year thing. So as much as the Red Sox are ready to take the next step, Toronto is not afraid to try and take that next step financially either. And so for me, it sucks that basically anywhere Bregman's going to go is probably going to be in the American League. Maybe the Phillies sneak in there. The Cubs probably won't after a 30 home run season from Matt Shaw. So it could be Kansas City, weirdly enough. It could be Seattle. It could be Detroit. But the one that would hurt you the most, that could be a reality here, is Alex Bregman signing with the Toronto Blue Jays. To me, that would be disaster, would barely scratch the surface for what that kind of scenario would be for the Red Sox. But let me know what you think in the comment section below. Do the Red Sox actually re-sign Bregman? And if they don't, where is the worst place he can go? Let me know in the comment section below. Then be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. We come at you live on YouTube every weekday, high noon Eastern time, available there and wherever you get your podcasts as well. I'm your host, Cam Stewart. That's why it is called The Cam Show. Special thank you to Zach Burke for keeping us on the air. Thank you to Jackson Roberts and Nick Suss for joining us today on the show. And thank you to you for tuning in to your lunchtime alternative to Boston Sports Talk Radio. We will see you tomorrow live at high noon Eastern time on The Cam Show.
Relax with Hemp Delicious. Organically grown hemp, massively blended with delicious organic herbs, responsibly sourced for their holistic benefits. Each sip offers calming, antioxidant-rich wellness. Brewed just for you. Sip the calm with Hemp Delicious.
At Open Goal USA, we're revolutionizing training for both soccer and lacrosse with our innovative portable rebounders. Perfect for players of all ages and skill levels. Visit OpenGOAAALUSA.com and elevate your training today.
Farmhounds offers natural treats and chews made with quality products that support family farm, regenerative agriculture, and humane farming practices. Give your dog the best with wholesome, organic ingredients that promote health and happiness. Shop now at farmhounds.com.
Get paid faster with Bill, the easiest way to send, receive, and manage your payments. No more delays, no more hassle. Whether you're a freelancer or a business, Bill makes payments seamless and secure, simple, fast, and reliable. Sign up today at Bill.com. We are Rogue Media Sports.